Did you get that? Sick. What's that game called where you go under the stick?
To sponsor Tony.
Can Thirsty sponsor us?
Please sponsor Tony.
And any coffee bean place.
But fresh. It must be fresh coffee.
Fresh
beans.
coffee.
Fresh coffee beans.
Or freezer-chinos.
And butternut. Butternut, their macadamia milk is the shit.
What she said.
It's so good. Butternut.
Yeah. Butternut.
Butternut.
Don't know what you're talking. Oh, I do know what you're talking about.
The best.
Yeah.
Those white plastic bottles.
Yeah. No.
Not anymore. They're now
Paper.
cartons.
Yeah.
They're cartons, and I buy them in bulk because I'm vegan and I'm gluten free. It's so much fun. Tend to be like so interested.
I love that for you.
So interested.
So this is episode 9 of Addicts Having Coffee.
Hi guys, and welcome to Addicts Having Coffee with me, Tony Quinn, where we talk addiction, recovery, and everything in between. See, date, I did it for the second time. Second time, Uma. Okay, I always mess that up, always.
Well done.
Guys, today I'm super excited to have one of my favorite people in the world, Uma Rose V. I won't say your surname unless I get permission to.
I don't mind.
Uma Rose V.
Flismus?
Uma Rose Flismus on the couch with us today. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful episode. You've got two people that are have really known each other for a very long time sitting in this space. I just want to say before we start, I literally met Uma when she was in active addiction.
Yep.
She was going through the most, and I'm going to start crying already. And I watched you get help and literally thrive and blossom, go through hard times, come out of hard times into the woman you are today. And it has been an absolute honor. And I'm just so excited to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Oh, I love you, Marty. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Are you excited?
Yes.
Yeah. What we do is, just tell your story when it comes to addiction. And you know this. I think the best place to start is always in the beginning because, it comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
And usually in our formative years, something happens or something shifts within us and we find ourselves down a specific path. So tell us a little bit about you and how you grew up.
Okay. This is always, I always get nervous even when I share in meetings. I don't think that ever really goes away.
I'm nervous. I don't know why. And I know this woman has spent days on my couch at home, and we have these discussions on
All
the
the
regular.
time. Yeah.
And now there's a camera there, and we're like, how's that? Nice to meet you.
Okay, so I don't know. I'll start in the beginning. I firmly believe that this disease of addiction, I was born with it. Unfortunately, it's just something I have. I was raised in an active household, so both my parents are addicts. I think you know that. But yeah, I mean, a lot happened in my childhood. I've also got a very firm stance on trauma. I think everyone has trauma, and we all go through stuff in our life. But I think we reach a point where we can decide to let it control us, or we can decide to grow from it
when we're older, once we've understood that. Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. I think obviously when you're young, you don't really understand it, but when you get to a point where you have a decision to make. Grew up in active households. My dad's in recovery. My mom is kind of in recovery. I don't know. I don't really speak to her. We don't have much of a relationship, but I'm very tight with my dad. And the story goes, I think, very similarly to most addicts, where I remember when I picked up my first drink, I fell in love. It felt like I finally found the key to life. This was it. Because I remember being as a kid, I was so timid and I was so afraid of everything. And so aware of the fact that I wasn't normal. So aware of the fact that I couldn't understand how life worked or how people could just do life. It didn't make sense to me. So when I had my first drink, I felt like I'd finally found the solution. This is it. And it was an incredible feeling. It really was in the beginning. But I was never able to hold back or have one, or it was always straight to oblivion.
Can I ask on that topic? So you mentioned you grew up in an active household, and I think a lot of people really struggle to talk about that. For a lot of people, there's the idea that addiction is genetic, or at least nature versus nurture. Growing up around it, some people will grow up in an active home and never want to, or say to themselves, "I'm never going to touch a substance.
Yeah.
I'm never going to put myself through it," and have like a big resentment towards it. And they actually don't pick up because of that, or they end up picking up because of that. Not because of that, that just becomes a part of who they are, and it's just a kind of path they find themselves in. What was your understanding of growing up in a home where people were struggling with substance misuse issues? Were you aware of it? Was it something you understood or something you saw? And when you picked up your first drink, did you even think about that kind of relationship, or did anyone have that conversation with you?
That's a really good question. I heard someone once say in a meeting, like, I grew up in an active household, so that gave me more of a reason not to use. And while logically that makes sense, like, I don't think that's really how it works.
Yeah.
Like, I maybe in some households, if maybe if I'd had a sibling, they would have turned out quite different.
Yeah.
And I've heard that, and
Yeah.
I've seen that in the rooms, where like people come in and their siblings don't touch any kind of substance because of what they grew up around.
Yeah.
And then the other sibling is like a complete addict, you
Yeah.
know? So no, honestly, like, that thought never really crossed my mind when I picked up for the first time. I think I was quite aware of the fact that I had an addictive personality, but I didn't really care. It was like, that was an afterthought for me, and I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny. I thought it was like, oh, that's
Quirky.
just Uma. Like, that's just her passed out in the garden. Like, that's so cute. So no, it didn't really cross my mind. I was very aware of it growing up. My parents, I remember one particular day where my mom had gone to buy substances and I was with her. And I remember my parents were in a custody battle at the time, and it was a very ugly custody battle. My parents, they really didn't get along in any way, shape, or form. And I remember sitting in the car after that interaction had taken place, my mom and her dealer, and I phoned my dad in an absolute mess. I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm with my mom and it's a Sunday and this is ridiculous. Um and even though that happened, it still didn't stop me. It still didn't even I didn't even think. And even as a kid, like as a baby, before I can even remember, I think my parents were so caught up in their own stuff, so
Unwell.
aligned, just unwell, and not able to step out of themselves, that no one could have that conversation with me. No one could teach me, like, okay, this is okay and this isn't okay, because they didn't even know where those lines were.
Exactly.
And I think that's also, like, I suppose it kind of brings me back to the thing of, like, trauma. It's not their fault. It happened. And it's my responsibility to go, okay, I don't want this for myself. I want to change. Like we said, at an age where I now understand.
Yes,
that
thank you.
level of
Yes,
things.
yeah.
Like, but I can now see my parents as just unwell people, and it's okay. I mean, my dad and I are super close now. We've got a beautiful relationship, despite everything that happened. So yeah, does that answer the question?
Absolutely. I just think it's a really important conversation to have, because a lot of people who grow up in homes where there is active use, where it is in a way normalized, or where it is seen as an escape, don't really speak about it much, because there's a lot of shame around growing up like that. I speak from experience with my own stuff. Just growing up with a dad who had severe anger issues, like seeing that kind of stuff play out. Unable to regulate emotions. It was really difficult for me to talk about it. And I feel like we hold a lot of that stuff in, and that's also part of the journey.
Yeah.
And just to bring it back to what we were speaking about, when you had your first drink, do you remember?
Oh,
And
like
how
it
old
was
were you?
yesterday.
Really? Do you remember?
Like it was. So okay. So I mean, yeah, like it was I was 9.
Oh wow.
I kind of want to touch on what you just spoke about
Yes,
quickly.
please. Yeah.
Because I think also something that's not really spoken about, and this is super honest, and I don't know if I've ever really like said this to anyone. My mom and I were really close during active because there was a camaraderie in the fact that we could use and drink together. And it was like this super cool, it felt super cool, and it felt like our relationship was based in that, if you get what I'm saying.
It's the
like
bond, it's the connection.
that was the bond between
Yeah.
us. So I remember, so that the first drink I ever had, I'll never forget. I was 9. My mom had a very wealthy boyfriend. I might have even been younger. I think I was 9. She had a very wealthy boyfriend, and he had taken us to Switzerland.
Wow.
Yeah,
I get it.
He was a complete arsehole, but he took us to Switzerland, and I remember my mom. So my mom was always drinking. She loved wine. There was also a lot of other stuff that went on, but that was the main thing that I saw. And she would let me have a sip every now and then. And this one particular time, we were at dinner, and I can even remember exactly what it looked like. It was this beautiful old building with these massive doors, like massive, like solid wood doors. And my mom was sitting at the table, and she turned around for a second, and I took the glass of wine and I downed it. And when she turned back around, she looked at me like,
What did you do?
Like, what have you just done? And I remember, this is so silly, but I remember feeling like I was floating. Like, I was so happy. I was 9 and I was flirting with the waiter. Like, I was having the best time. And I don't think I ever really got over that feeling. I mean, I didn't pick up until much later, but
what you described was so perfect because you said, you know, when you were a kid, you felt different. You felt like you never fit in.
Yeah.
You couldn't communicate the way other people communicated. Like, you didn't get that lesson.
Yeah.
Like, that's how a lot of addicts will describe it. I never got that lesson.
Yeah.
And then you grab a substance, you down it, and then you've got confidence.
Yeah.
You're at 9 years old talking to a waiter like you're a grown-up.
Yeah.
And that feels like a solution.
Yeah, I mean, also, like, the kind of flip side of it was, I mean, I was such a shy kid that I literally, it's quite ironic, I couldn't speak to a waiter. Like, I could not.
Oh, I know that feeling.
You know?
Yeah.
I could not. I was paralyzed. Like, I couldn't sit in the aisle of an airplane until I was, like, 15.
Yeah.
Because I was so scared they were going to ask me if I wanted something to drink.
Yeah.
Like, I was petrified. And I remember that feeling just leaving me. It was like this incredible, like, relief.
Yeah.
Such a relief. So that's the first time I remember picking up a substance. The first actual substance I had was when I was between 5 and 7. I don't know the exact age I was, but my hair started falling out. I had I think it was an early sign of PCOS. Don't quote me on that. I don't know.
That's PCOS. So,
polycystic ovary syndrome. Yes. Yeah. Don't quote me though, because I don't really know. My hair just started mysteriously falling out, and my mom took me to the shamans in the mountains, because my mom has always been very anti, like, medical
Western
intervention.
medicine. Yeah.
So it was always like aloe vera, calcium, like, that's what you get. So she took me to the shamans, and they gave me ayahuasca.
At age 5.
It was between 5 and 7. I'm not sure the exact
Can you tell
age.
the audience what it is? I'm sorry, our film guy Dalen is in shock right now.
No, I think it was it yeah, it was ayahuasca. Yeah, it was. It was, so my mom wanted me to heal from this thing that was happening, right?
Yeah.
So ayahuasca, for anyone who doesn't know, is a very, 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 very powerful psychedelic. It's a cactus.
I just know it's a plant. Yeah.
I think it's a cactus, and they it's like San Pedro.
Yes.
Same kind of thing. So yeah, they gave me ayahuasca, and apparently, I mean, I don't remember any of this, so I don't even know if it had, like, an impact on me, but apparently what happened was I passed out and I woke up, and the first thing I said was, Jesus is dead and the sky is black. So I was tripping balls. Like I was.
That's dark.
Yeah, it was
That's
really
dark
dark.
at that age.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, that was the first time I had an actual substance. But honestly, I don't remember it
Okay.
at all. So I don't know if that's.
Question: did your hair stop falling out?
Yes, but not because of the San Pedro, but because when I got back, my granny was like, I've had enough. And she took me to an actual doctor and got me like meds and antibiotics, and they sorted it out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's also like just speaks of different experiences growing up. Like I know like your mom was trying to help, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get that. I get that. I just so psychedelic at a very young age. I struggled with it in my 20s. Like it's if it's unmonitored, it's very scary at that
Yeah.
age. I can't imagine like waking up and saying something like that at a very young age.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit terrifying. Was that a trauma for you, or was it just like a normal day?
I mean, honestly, there was a lot of weird stuff that went
Yeah.
on when I was a kid because my mom was so like anti-Western medicine and
Which I think is fair in a lot of circumstances. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
yeah.
I totally do. But I just think a 5-year-old, like you know, like I don't want to place judgment of it because I can see someone trying to help someone,
but that's
just in a
the
different
thing.
way.
That's the thing, and
Yeah.
it didn't come from an ugly place. It didn't come, and also like I said, I don't remember it. So
Yeah.
it's not like a trauma. I just remember like someone told my mom actually told me about it, and I was like, what? Sorry, what? I did who?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot. That's a lot.
So yeah, I don't think it's a trauma. I think it's just like it was something that happened, and I can look back and laugh now.
Yeah.
You know where I am, and I can be like, my goodness, like
That's a
so
lot.
ridiculous.
That's a good understanding of what it was like growing up.
Yeah.
Like that's a good
good
understanding.
example,
Like
yeah.
things coming from a good place and it, you know, just
Exactly.
that's being what it looked like in the end. Yeah.
Exactly, and it's the same with my dad. So my parents, they got divorced when I was 2. Like I said, very ugly divorce. I only remember like the later on stages. But even with my dad, you know, he really, really, really did his best. And I think my mom did too.
Yeah, of
I think they really tried their best to be the best parents that they knew how to be.
Mm-hmm.
But both of them were so stuck in their own worlds and stuck in their own battles that they were unable to see the impact that it had. And it wasn't just on me. I mean, you know, it's a family thing, this disease. And so it spreads quite quickly and quite far. But yeah, my dad, he got into a relationship with someone who, so when I was younger as well, so with my dad's stuff and the fact that he was stuck in his own battle.
Yes.
He was in a relationship with someone that was quite abusive. She had her own problems as well. Like I think she was also struggling with her own stuff. She could be verbally abusive, physically abusive, lots of things.
And to you, directed towards you.
Yes. Yeah. And then also like kind of within that mess there was someone who groomed me. Obviously no one else knew about it. It was a very hush hush thing. But it was from that side of things. It wasn't her, it wasn't anyone I'm related to or anything like that. But that also came into play, and it's crazy how now where I'm sitting, I'm able to see that I don't think that anyone is inherently evil. I don't think anyone purposefully causes harm. I think that people are just so stuck in their own internal battles and their own internal messes that they're unable to see how their behavior can impact the world.
That is a very vulnerable and very brave thing to share. And I hate using that word, but it's true. Sharing about being groomed from a young age. You didn't specify details, and I would assume you were young when the grooming started. Is also something very difficult to talk about, and so many people have gone through it and struggle to put words to it, feel guilt and shame around it, even though it is not your fault. It is not your fault.
Yeah.
And I hope you know that too. And I know you know that. I do know you know that.
Yeah.
But that also gives way to and I know you touched on it earlier, that trauma is relative. It's not about what happens. It's about how we deal with it. And some people deal with different kinds of like traumas. A trauma that may be huge for me may look small to you. A trauma that
100%.
may be huge to you looks small to me, you know?
100%.
But you've taken us through some very deep, very personal experiences in your life. And it shows the vulnerability, it shows the growth, and it also shows that sometimes it's not why the addiction, it's why the pain. And you've given us really deep insight to that. And I just want to thank you for being brave enough to share about that, because I know there's lots of people out there watching this who will relate to a story like that. It makes me really emotional because I know how difficult it is to say that out loud. I really do. So thank you for sharing that.
I feel very safe here. I mean, it's like talking to a friend.
We are friends, but this is just, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
So you grew up with that. So there was a lot of chaos. That was like kind of just growing up in the chaos. There was love there. There was also chaos there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think the whole point of what I was trying to say is just that my parents were so stuck in their own messes and their own internal battles that I don't think it came from an ugly place. I think they really were trying their best. And I understand that now, and I have to say it's such a relief to see it like that, because I think we can get so stuck in like, oh well, like I'm an addict because of this, and like this person did that, so now like fuck you, I'm gonna, you know, whatever.
I have a reason to do whatever it is I want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the truth is, like, everyone's just trying their best. And I think being able to see that has now released my dad and I from that pain. So, like, we still will have chats about it. He feels very guilty. But I don't see it like that anymore. I see my dad as someone he's tried his best. He always tried to be a good dad, you know? And now we're able to have this relationship that's free of that.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, so I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful that my dad got clean, because this program really gave me a dad, like really, really.
So then, wow. So you went through all of that. You remember the first time you drank at age 9. What was the progression of dealing with the trauma, and how was school? How was growing up in school with
It was a
that?
mess.
Like, I can imagine, because you're dealing with so many secrets.
Yeah, I think school for me is a blur. When I look back on it, it's like I can hardly remember school. Honestly, I thought I was so cool, because now, like,
You were.
no, I really wasn't, Tone. I was such an ace. But
I'm joking. But she was.
But I was like that person that always had the booze and always had the weed and the thing. So everyone wanted to hang out with me, right? And I was always the first one to throw up and like paint the bathroom pink with the strawberry lips from my stomach, and like to be passing out in the garden. And I remember one very pertinent moment for me. It's a bit of a damage icon. But
What's
I
a damage icon?
A damage icon, we spoke about it in the facility I went to, but basically it's like a moment that you remember, and it's like, oh, that was bad. Like, that was really bad. And I had this really good friend of mine, so we got really close in high school. It was one of those friendships where like us, where you just like immediately like, yep, that's my person. So we got super tight, and we got up to nonsense together, as you do in high school. Like, I don't want it to sound like I don't understand that high school
can be messy.
It can be messy. Yes, and that's also okay.
Yeah, that's adolescence.
100%. But we went to a family member of hers' birthday party, and I was drinking, of course. And I remember at one point, I think the last thing I remember is sitting down at a table with her mom, my friend's mom. And that was it. Like, that's all I remembered. And I woke up the next morning and I remember it was terrible. But that was also norm for me. Like, I was so used to blacking out that it was like, oh, it's just another Tuesday.
That's what getting drunk is. Like, you think that's what everyone experiences getting drunk as.
Right? Yeah. To reach oblivion. That was my point.
Yeah.
And I woke up the next morning and my dad was fetching me because we are going for breakfast with my aunt and my cousin. And now this is important to note. My family is very, very, very close. Like, we are super tight. Specifically my dad, my aunt, my cousin, and me. Like, we are a unit and we
Yeah.
move together. And we've always been very close to my dad's parents, so my grandfather and my granny. Anyway, so we're going for breakfast this one morning after this birthday party. And everyone's being super quiet around me. Like, super, super, super quiet. Like, even my friend, she was very quiet.
I know this feeling. It's yeah.
I'm like, something's weird. And her parents usually would greet me and good morning and whatever, but they were being super weird. And I was like,
Like distant.
very distant.
Yeah.
I was like, what's going on? Anyways, so my dad picks me up and he, like, the car's dead silent. I'm like,
Oh, I'm actually feeling
know
the anxiety.
that
I know
like,
this.
and now I'm already feeling so sick because I'm so hungover and it's so bright outside. Had to be like the sunniest day of the year, of course.
Feels
Right?
nauseous. Yeah.
So sitting in the back of the car, and my dad eventually, after like 20 minutes of silence, he turns around and he goes, I got a phone call last night. And I'm like, oh yeah. He's like, I think you need to apologize to your friend and her family. And I'm like, apologize for? He's like, you don't remember any of it, do you? I'm like, no, what are you talking about? And he's like, you were an absolute mess. Apparently, I mean, it took a while for me to find out what actually happened.
No.
I was trying to put it all together, but I was at this, and now it's not even like her birthday party. It was like a family members of hers, right? So like, oh, I was throwing up in the garden like during the speeches, and then her sister had to put her finger down my throat and make me throw up because they thought I was gonna like die and have alcohol poisoning, and I was just like hunched over in the garden vomiting. Like, apparently it was such a wreck, and I was so messy and I suppose that's also what makes it so different, like, you know, being in high school and having this, you know, going a little bit crazy, whatever. But that feeling of like self-hatred, that feeling of like, I disgust myself.
Embarrassment, yeah.
So embarrassed, and just like I didn't know how to even, where do you start? Like, I'm so sorry that I wrecked your birthday party because I don't know how to hold a drink. And there were loads of moments like that throughout high school.
That's the thing. I have such a similar high school experience to you, and I want to put it out there. Those blackouts, like I said before, I don't remember the first time I had a drink because, like you, it was also normalized. Like the environments I grew up in, people were always drinking. Like I probably had a drink when I was also the same age. I just don't remember it. But I do know the first time I got drunk, I don't remember it. Like really drunk, I don't remember it. I apparently fell down a flight of stairs. It was a whole thing, like things like that. But in high school specifically, your friends are out partying, right? You're going to clubs. You're getting. I had fake student cards to get into clubs.
Fake IDs.
Fake IDs.
Yeah.
Your age could get fake IDs. We had to get student cards.
No, I used to cut out the zeros and stick them on with glue.
Do not listen to what Uma has told you to do. You will get caught. This was a different time.
It hardly ever worked, to be fair. Really.
Don't lie.
I promise you.
I'm joking. That is a ridiculous thing to do, but also respect. But like my friends were going out partying.
Yeah.
We would go to clubs. We would go to clubs in Melville. That was the thing we would do. Our moms would drop us off. There was a specific driver, taxi number you could phone, and they would come pick you up, and everyone trusted this taxi driver, whatever. It was part of everyday life. But the difference is when I woke up, I had always done something that I regretted, that I didn't remember, and there was always this weird vibe in the air that no one really wanted to tell me what I did because it was that bad.
Every time.
I didn't know when to stop. They did, and that was the difference. Like, and I found it really frustrating, like throwing up publicly in the middle of a club, or the one time I thought I was a vampire. Now, this story was told to me, so I have no memory of it. But I went to a house party. I got very drunk, and apparently I got naked and ran into the sun in front of everyone to prove to them that I was a vampire and I was going to turn to ash in the sun. And you know what? I didn't fucking turn to ash in the sun. I was just a naked drunk girl in the sun getting a tan. I know. I'm still disappointed to this day.
You start sparkling.
That would have been offensive. You know, I probably made a joke about that. But if I was a Swarovski crystal fucking vampire, I would be so disappointed.
I would be so happy.
I would be disappointed, bro. I want to turn to ash.
No, sparkle.
I don't want to sparkle, bro.
Sparkle.
No.
You know what's interesting is, like, I mean, we can talk about these stories and we can laugh about them, but like now we can laugh about them.
Oh, back then there was no laughter.
Back then it's like, and even then I feel like that's such a distinct difference between people who like go a little bit crazy,
Yeah.
you know, and then the people who are like addicts.
Exactly.
Because for me it's like, you know, my friends could wake up and have done stupid things and they would go, oh my goodness, I'm so ridiculous. But I would sit there and be so disgusted with who I was and what I was doing.
And then
how I
do
was
it
being-
again.
And then do it again.
Exactly.
Or like use or drink to then escape that feeling of like I hated myself. And it's, I think that's what, like, that's why, I mean, we spoke about it before we came on the podcast and people are like, oh, how bad could it have been? Like, you're so young, whatever. It's like, dude, I hated myself. Like, I literally did not want to be here. I did not want to be alive. And I didn't know how to do that or how to survive without being drunk or high. Like, that was it.
Thank you for saying that. And that's also something I want to touch on. First of all, what you said was very true. You know, we can look and we can laugh at this stuff, but let's give some perspective to both the stories we just told. First of all, I was young. I was naked in a house party full of people I didn't know.
Yeah.
Running into the sun. I do not know what happened that night. I was vulnerable that night.
Yeah.
I was in a situation that I have no memory of. Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
And people still could not have told me what happened.
Yeah.
That is the danger in those situations, that yes, it's a funny story in hindsight. Dude, you being at a party as a teenager with people you didn't know, throwing up in the bushes, causing a scene, making everyone turn to you,
So dangerous.
is a dangerous situation to be in.
100%. I mean, there was one morning when I was at university, so I was hanging out with these guys, loveliest men. They really were the loveliest guys. Like, genuinely, thank goodness they were those guys. I was safe.
Yeah.
But I remember, like, I was going to this party and I was like, I'm not going to drink. That never lasted.
Yeah.
Right?
Only just one.
Just one. I wake up the next morning and I'm on a couch in this guy's house and there's just blood on the floor. Like, anything could have happened.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was my friend who, I mean, apparently we'd gone drifting. Very
What, in a car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Apparently we'd gone, but it took ages for me to figure this out. We'd gone drifting and my friend, apparently we got locked out. I don't remember any of this. And he decided to climb the security fence and impaled his foot on like the gate. But thank goodness it had been that. Had I not been with good people, who knows what would have happened. Apparently that night as well, there was this guy who was being really weird and my one friend was like, no, and he like kept me away from this other guy. Thank goodness. Like, I'm so lucky. The friends I've had, and I hope they see this because I hope they know how much they mean to me. There's this friend I have from Stellenbosch. This man goes everywhere in 6-inch heels, okay? And I was an absolute wreck. So I would get blackout, I would pass out, whatever. Every single time a coconut we went out, I would be too like out of it to even walk home. And this man in his 6-inch heels and his mini skirt would put me on his back and he would walk me 3 kilometers home. He would take me upstairs to my room. He would make sure that I was safe. He would brush my bloody teeth for me. And he would sit with me until I fell asleep and he knew that I was okay. Like, I've been so blessed with angels.
Yeah.
You know, I have friends here in Joburg like that as well, who, thank goodness for them, were able to go, like, there would be guys who would approach me in that state where I'm so out of it. And they would be like, no, Uma's going home with us. We're going to take her home. We're going to make sure she's okay. Had I not had those friends, girl, I don't know where I would be.
100%.
I don't think I would be. I would be dead.
100%. We put ourselves in very vulnerable situations, which still is, if they're I want to be very clear about this. Yes, you can go and you can drink. You can go and get blacked out. If anything happens to you, and if you are watching this, because it did happen to me, if anything happens to you in a blackout state, it is not your fault that
Big
happened to
facts.
you.
Big fact.
It is still against your will. There is no consent in those situations, and you're still able to talk about it. Now that we're on this topic, I think this is a good, like, just to talk about this kind of stuff. I will give an example of when something bad did happen, right? I got really drunk. I went out on a date with a guy. We went to a bar and we were car barring, just drinking in the back of the car with everyone. Blacked out. That was the beginning of the night. The next thing I remember is being on our way home in a car with 5 guys and me in the back. Next thing I remember, my mom waking me up on the sidewalk opposite my house, half clothed, finding me passed out early mornings there and taking me inside and asking what happened. Something bad did happen that night. I don't know what it was, but something bad happened that night. And those are the situations that you can find yourself in when you're drinking that heavily and blacking out. I had so much guilt and shame around that night. I even said to myself, I was like, maybe I got drugged. I know that I wasn't drugged that night because I went for blood tests. I was drinking heavily. I didn't know how to stop drinking. I blacked out and I was put in a very vulnerable situation that destroyed me and is a part of my trauma for the rest of my life. I did not want to go to the police. My mom tried to get me to go to the police. My mom got a confession from someone over the phone about that kind of stuff, and I still didn't go to the police. I blamed myself, and so did other people around me for years. That you put yourself in that situation, you got into that car, you did that, you know? Sexual assault can happen to people when they are blacked out, drugged out in any kind of situation like that. If you are looking for a loophole for sexual assault, you're the problem. Finished, done. I just want to put that out there. These situations we can laugh about, but they can become incredibly dangerous, and these consequences are unimaginable, unspeakable, and there should be no guilt and shame around it in asking for help. There we go.
Back that 100%. Yes.
I wanted to say that. And then another thing you touched on is you said you touched on the fact that you were young when all of this happened. You were young when you found your own recovery. Another thing that must be annoying is when people are like, oh my God, you got sober so young. Like, well done. Yay. Because then it's like, what must I do? Must I wait till I'm 40 and try like other substances or get more pain and more trauma and more chaos before you say, okay, now you can go get sober? Addiction, like you said, you did not want to be alive. You did not want to be alive and you sought help. But anyway, we'll get to that as we go along. I just wanted to say that to anyone watching.
Yeah, I mean it can be irritating because I think age doesn't matter. And I think everyone's got to go through their own process and get to their own kind of like, okay, I've had enough now. And I very firmly believe that everyone's got their different rock bottoms, because for me, I know that my rock bottom looked very different, but it was that feeling of like, I'm done, like I'm tired, I hate being here, I don't want to be alive. So it can be quite irritating, but it's interesting as well because my perspective has shifted slightly.
Tell me, I love hearing this.
Only because like I now see young people coming into the rooms and they struggle to relate.
When you say rooms, do you just want to like recovery spaces?
So like the recovery space or like NA or whatever. I see these young people come in and there is a sense of like, oh, well, I'm so young, you know. And then all these people come to you and they're like, oh, wow, you're so young and blah, blah, blah. And so this idea kind of feeds into itself. But why I'm saying my perspective has shifted is because now I kind of understand. It comes from a place of like, oh, sure, but like I wish I had gotten clean younger.
Yes.
And I get that. And I'm really grateful that I have this opportunity at such a young age, because the truth is some people didn't even know that NA was a thing. You know, and while the resources are 100% out there and they're very like, there's so much help available, older generations don't have the same perspective that we do, and they don't have the same opportunities that we do. Because for us, I feel like there is so much more power in recovering loudly for my generation, and that could just be my perspective of things, but I feel like that is definitely more a thing. Whereas I feel like with my parents, it was like therapy is only for people who are like super messed up and like, but I was in therapy from when I was 5 and I'm grateful for that, you know. But yeah, like I see these young people come into the recovery space and then they see another young person, they feel like, oh, maybe I do fit in, maybe I do belong, because it takes away from that idea of like, oh, well, I'm just young and I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So while it used to really irritate me, now when I hear people say it, I'm like, yeah, it is quite cool. Like I'm grateful that I get to live my 20s clean and I get to like find my career clean, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful that I get to be a young person that greets the next young person that comes into the room.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, welcome in, girl. Come on
Yes.
in, or guy. Come on in. It's a really empowering thing to find myself and to actually experience this freedom while I'm still figuring out my life.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to that. So you said, I like that you're speaking, we've spoken about the difference between, just partying and having fun like a normal teenager versus you can see yourself spiraling into a mental health crisis, addiction, and things like that. So you started drinking, you started finding yourselves in these messed up situations. Take us through how you went from high school and how you transitioned into, life outside of those kinds of environments and how substances came in.
Ready?
Are we on?
Yes.
Are we on? Okay, sorry, we needed to take a break. Okay, so we got to, you took us through the progression of high school. You took us through a lot of the trauma you dealt with as a child, the dynamics at home, the dynamics at school, your coping mechanisms essentially. How did that progress as you left the high school kind of environment?
Also, love this question because I think, again, this is such a distinct difference between a normal person and me. I went to university.
You are normal.
I'm an addict, girl.
I know, but that's a normal, real thing.
Yes, it is, but I feel like it's like the world of wizards and the world of muggles. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I never watched Harry Potter. It's a trauma for me.
That's terrible.
And also J.K. Rowling.
No, I loved Harry Potter, but I feel like sometimes I'm a wizard and normal people are muggles.
Okay, that's fair.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, so I went to university. I never wanted to go to university. I really didn't care for it. I didn't care about school. I really did not care. I think also at the time, like, there was so much going on that it felt like really the marks I was getting did not matter. But I somehow got into a couple of universities, and I decided to go to Stellenbosch.
From Joburg.
From Joburg.
Oh, that's a big difference, yeah?
Yeah, it was quite a big change, and also, like, I went completely on my own, so it was like my dad and my mom live in Johannesburg, they always have, so it was like me going out into the world. And Stellies is amazing. It's such a beautiful university, but I obviously didn't know how to deal with it on normal terms. So, I mean, my week looked like this. On a Monday, it was rugby, so I would get drunk before the rugby, get drunk during the rugby, and then I would go to the pub. Tuesday, I was too hungover to go to class. Wednesday was something called Klein Saterdag, which is like mini Saturday. So everyone went out on a Wednesday. Then I was too hungover to go to class on a Thursday, and then Friday party, Saturday party, Sunday recover. Yeah. So like that's what my week looked like, and I had no sense of like normality because I didn't know what normal looked like. But where it really like got to for me, and when I started to realize there was a serious problem, was when so I started dating someone in university because I think my addiction has not only played out like with drugs and alcohol, but it's played out with an eating disorder, it's played out with like relationships. I'll use whatever I can to make myself feel better about life, and life on life's terms. Is this too far? I don't know. Anyways, so I stopped seeing this guy, and I mean, during our relationship, it was basically a mishmash of like drinking, then COVID hit, so it was lockdown. So we were drinking, finding ways and means to get, alcohol and things whilst it was lockdown, and using a lot of psychedelics.
Oh, psychedelics. So you were like, okay, drinking, partying, psychedelics.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dalen.
Thank you, Dalen. Yeah, so a lot of drinking, a lot of weed, and then a lot of psychedelics. That was kind of my modus operandi. So if I wasn't, if it was during the day, I was smoking weed and taking psyches, and then in the evenings I would drink, but obviously that progressed to like all the time.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I was dating this guy, and I broke up with him, and get this, the irony of this, I left him because he was friends with drug dealers. The irony, right? And And at the time, I was actually, my best friend of 19 years was staying with me. It's quite a sore point for me because I really messed that relationship up and I would do anything to go back. But here we are. Anyway, so he was friends with drug dealers and I was like, you're disgusting. Like,
Judge you
how dare
while
you?
I'm on all my psychedelics.
Literally, like, and I
trying
was
the
a
drugs.
wreck. And there I was going like, you know, how dare you? This is disgusting, whatever. And then I remember I came home from university for a while. I just adopted a cat. This is her.
Oh, baby.
Her name was Mary Jane.
Of course.
Of course it was. And she came back to Joburg with me and we spent a holiday in Joburg. My parents are very worried about me and I was like, yeah, because I have this boyfriend who's like friend of drug addicts. I mean, it's all his fault, right?
How were your parents at this time? Were they in recovery or using? Okay.
Yeah, they were using. So my dad had relapsed at that point. So my dad actually got clean for the first time when I was really young. I was about 3, I think. Don't fact check me.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
100% sure. But around then he got clean, but he'd relapsed at that point. And my mom had never got clean.
Okay.
So she was also like in her own mess. I went home, left this guy, came back to university, and I at this point when I got back to university, the disease had progressed to a point where I was suicidal. Like I couldn't get up in the mornings. My place was an absolute it was disgusting. Like I was living in a filthy environment that I just could not will myself to
Yeah.
do anything about. Like I didn't have anything in me.
Yeah.
I was severely depressed. I couldn't leave my apartment without being so high that I needed to go out and like I'd be able to go out and get food, but otherwise I wouldn't leave my apartment. And I had this therapist who still kind of is my therapist. I don't see him very often, but when I do, it's good. He's incredible. He's been with me since I was like 13. And at this point, like, I mean, this is a professional therapist, you know, he would message me or phone me on a daily basis to make sure that I hadn't killed myself. And I think the only thing that really kept me going was this cat. And that's why she's so important to me, because she really gave me a reason to live. And so I decided that the best solution was to move. This is quite funny. I know it's a dark story, but it's quite funny because I thought that society was the problem. So everyone around me, and the fact that I was living in this environment where drugs were so easily accessible and drinking was so like widely accepted. And that was the reason why I was such a mess. So I moved to the middle of the Free State to live on a farm that was so far away from society that I had to drive like an hour and a half to get some groceries.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I full on went remote, and the plan was to, you know, carry on with my studies on this farm, but all I did was get high all day. Every day I'd wake up and I would smoke weed and I would like go on a walk and take some mushies and like I just got high for a month. And this little cat was with me and it was like me and her against the world. And yeah, I lived there for a while, and I suppose like during that time, this is bothering me again. During that time, like I thought that I was, you know, really cleaning my life up because I hadn't had a drink.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, well now I'm on the straight and narrow, you know. And then my mom came to fetch me, and I remember she brought some wine with her, and I was like, well, I mean, I've gone a whole month without drinking. What's one drink, you know?
The age-old question.
Ew, straight back though, hey, straight back. And I moved back home. I left university. I dropped out because obviously I wasn't getting any work done on that farm. But I also I do want to like just stress that the people who own that farm are family friends of mine, the most phenomenal humans I've ever come across. They really did help me in a lot of ways. Like I was really struggling with an eating disorder at that point, and they really really helped me, and they looked after me and they loved me like I was their own. And I'm actually really good friends with their son. We've grown up together, and I want to stress that they did everything in their power to help me. They really took care of me, and I was the problem. And it's also it's such a beautiful environment. Like if I had seen the opportunity and actually taken it, it would have looked very different for me.
I think that's beautiful to express that. I think like you said, you know, and you can acknowledge that now that you moved because everyone else was the problem. You needed to get your life in order. You needed to be in a different environment. We call that doing a geographical. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. Mostly it doesn't because you're still taking yourself with you
Yeah.
and your struggle with you.
Yeah.
And I do think it's important to touch on the mental health aspect as well as the addiction.
Yeah.
And to struggle with an eating disorder on top of an addiction, on top of depression, on top of suicidal ideation, they all go hand in hand.
100%.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. And then you isolate yourself. You're surrounded by people who are trying, but the way you acknowledge it, saying, it was me.
I was the problem. 100%.
Yeah.
You know, and it's crazy because I mean, like, I'm still in touch with the people that I stayed with. I grew up with them, you know, and they really, really, really are some of the most incredible people I have ever come across in my entire life. The most non-judgmental, kind, generous, just like that space has been a healing space for so many people, and their doors their doors are open to everyone.
I love people like that.
Oh, the best.
But I think it's also okay to say, you know, you did take yourself out of that environment, you went there and you did try to heal.
Yes.
And I think that's important to acknowledge. You know, you might have done it in a way that didn't work for you, but you did try.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to acknowledge sometimes. It's very easy for us to like I always do this, self-flagellate.
Yeah.
You know, but you did try and you were very young.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also I didn't realize the extent at which I was struggling.
Yes.
And I remember even being there and I wrote this list about like Uma's tips on life, and it was like this
I've done that. Yeah.
and it was like this long list of like how to live a successful life. Meanwhile, there I was at like how old was I? 20, 19. I think I turned 20, I think, on that farm. But there I was sitting like 20, having dropped out of university basically, like living in the middle of nowhere because I didn't know what I was doing. And the irony of me sitting there going, oh, there's tips on life.
I think that's so sweet and I get it. But I get the irony of it as well.
Very funny.
Yeah. So then you moved back home after a month.
So,
your mom got you. You started drinking wine with her.
Yes.
And then that was just back to.
So yeah, I moved back and I remember going to my dad and I was like, hey dad, I can't study anymore. And I'm very lucky that my dad has always been very non-judgmental. And I think partly, and I can say this now because he said it, partly because he did it all.
Yeah.
So like he can't really judge me.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky in that sense. So he really welcomed me home, and I think he was really worried about me. Because apparently a couple of times I'd phoned him in a state of complete like being so out of it, and I just cried. And I think he was really worried that I wasn't doing well, and I wasn't. So his concerns are valid. So he welcomed me back home. I moved back in with my dad, and then I started a job as a waitress, which at the time seemed like a great idea, and I think for a lot of people it is, but for me it helped escalate things, right?
Yes. Yeah. Was it in a bar?
It was.
No, there we go.
It was a restaurant bar.
Yeah,
So
I did the same
it was a
thing.
little bit restaurant and a little bit bar, and I remember very clemly being like, okay, well, I don't drink. Oh well, there goes
We dropped the teddy bear.
bear.
We dropped it.
I remember being very like, I won't drink.
It's
Legend,
back.
thank you. I won't drink at all. I don't drink. I only smoke weed. I only do psychedelics. And then very quickly it became, okay, well, I will never get drunk at work, right? Because I started drinking again, and I was smoking a lot of weed, like all day, every day. And then it was like, yeah, well, I'll never drink. I'll never be high on the job. And then it became, okay, well, as long as I'm not out of it.
Keep moving that goalpost.
Bro,
Keep
every
moving
time.
it.
And then it got to that point where I couldn't work without being drunk.
Yes.
And I was like, I really was not proud of how I behaved and who I'd become, but you know, I was like, I'm making money and whatever. A lot of really shameful stuff that I could have avoided had I not been in that state happened during that time. And I caused myself and a lot of other people a lot of pain and a lot of damage. And I don't want to say it was ignorance, but I think I really just did not realize the level at which I was hurting myself and others. And I also don't want to say I regret it, because I think it needed to happen for me to get to where I am now. So that all happened. And then again, my dad went into treatment during that time.
So your dad went and got help
Yeah.
in his recovery. Yes.
Yeah. So whilst I was waitressing, he went and he decided to go to rehab and get himself on the straight and narrow. And then there was a point where I felt so sorry for myself, because poor me, my dad's in rehab. I mean, he was doing the best thing he could have done for me and him, but I didn't see it like that at the time. And I started to go back into that space of like, now I was closing all the curtains and all the windows and all the doors, turning all the lights off, and I would sit in the dark and I would drink and I would use to the point where I could maybe get to the couch. And it was a very painful and very lonely place to be. So I decided again, you know what? It's the environment, it's the job, it's the people, and I was also going to therapy at this point. So it's everyone else's fault. So I decided one day, I messaged my friend, who I did everything with at the time. We're still very good friends. And I said, I'm packing my bags and I'm going to the farm, the same farm that I went to.
So that was your escape. That was like your go-to. Yes.
And I was like, I'm leaving. And he was like, what do you mean? It's Tuesday. What? You have a job? I was like, I'm going to quit. And he was like, I have a job. I can't just, go to the Free State.
Oh, did you expect him to go with you?
Yes. I was like, come, pack your bags. We're going. And he was like, that's not a normal thing to do, but you do your thing. Right? Always very supportive. Bless him. So I did. I went and I handed in my resignation and I packed the car and I drove to the Free State. And I was like, okay, I'm going to hang here for a bit. I need another break. And when I got back, my dad got back.
From treatment?
From treatment.
So you were at the farm, he was in treatment. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Except, I mean, it was kind of like staggered. So he went to treatment. Then a couple months later, I went to the farm. And so my dad gets back and I remember very clearly him walking into the door and me seeing him for the first time, and it made me so angry. How horrible is that? It made me so angry because he was happy.
You could see like light.
There was this little twinkle in his eye, and I was like,
there's a resentment. Like, how come you have that? I don't want you to have that.
Yeah. I
don't want that.
Yeah.
Got you.
It was like, I want what you have. How do I get it? But I didn't know that that's what I wanted. I was so angry at him for being happy.
Yeah.
And my dad, I think this also was a big turning point in our relationship, because my whole life, like, I'd felt very, I think I abandoned is a very strong word, but I did feel quite like left behind by my dad. And I mean, again, we've spoken about all this stuff, so it's not a secret. But then for him to step into this role of like,
I'm better now.
Being better and being present and being an actual like their father also kind of made me angry, because I was like, why now? Why do you get to step into my life now and suddenly be a dad,
Which is like, and I know you're being very hard on yourself. It's such an understandable shift in mindset, especially if you're struggling.
Yeah.
So it's not like, I don't think like you were very hard on yourself saying how nasty, and I think even your dad would understand like that feeling. Like that feeling does make sense,
Maybe.
in its own way. It shouldn't be there, and it's good that you acknowledge it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the psychology behind it, you can understand. The way you're telling your story gives it context.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. I mean, it does make sense, and I understand it. But I think now looking back on it, I'm like, I was so disillusioned.
Of
Maybe
course.
that's
the word.
The word. Like, I was so unable to see that like that was what I wanted, and that's what made me angry. So he got back, and now he was in this space of like being able to be a dad. And I was going through this crazy pre-admission crisis. I mean, the amount of phone calls. There was one night in particular, and I think you were in the picture when this happened.
I know everything about
Yeah,
this night.
You
Tell
were
the
in
story. I'll
picture.
tell you the perspective.
So I don't remember this night much, okay, obviously. But obviously, had I met you yet?
I hadn't met you.
Okay, we hadn't met each other yet.
I became friends with Uma's father.
Yes.
Through a recovery space.
Yes.
And there was a lot of concern and a lot of worry. And he's been on this podcast before, so it's okay. This has been told.
Yes.
So don't worry. But I remember this like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
This is what happened.
So what I remember is I had gone to a friend's 40th. He was a regular at the bar that I worked at.
Also, you young at a 40th, says me, 40, sitting next to her, and she's like my best friend. I should get mental help. Carry on.
Please don't say that. So I was going to this guy's 40th, and I met this girl, and she said like, oh, I've never been in Johannesburg before. And I was like, no way, that's crazy. And you know what drunk girls are like, so typical.
Best
like,
friends in the bathroom.
Besties. So we made good friends, and I was like, I've got to show you around Joburg. And we decided we were going to go to this club that's very well known. It was my stomping ground, Babylon. Babylon was my vibe. So I was like, I've got to take you to this club. You're going to love it. Anyways, cut to the next thing I remember.
It's not funny.
Well, this isn't the like end of the story.
Yeah, no.
This is, so I remember then somehow ending up on a skateboard in some random guy's house smoking weed. And it was like, okay, cool. That is it. That is where my memory ends. I don't remember anything after that. Cut to the next thing I remember. I wake up and I'm in my dad's bed. And like, that's weird. I'm like, that is...
Why?
Why? And
yeah.
I look to myself, my head's pounding. I'm an absolute mess. I can't remember anything about what happened, but I'm like a classic Tuesday, you know, like whatever. And there's a glass of water next to my bed with a little note that says drink me and some headache tablets. And I remember...
Sweet. Sorry, that's so sweet.
Yeah. But also the glass of water was empty, so I must have drunk it at some point. Anyways. So I get out of the bed and I'm like, this is so weird. And I get back into my bed and I fall asleep again. I wake up and my dad's sitting at the foot of my bed and he's like, hey, and I'm like, hey, Dad. He's like, I think you need to phone your gran. I'm like, my gran? For context, my grandfather and I were very close. Like I said earlier, we're a very tight family. But he passed away in 2018 and my gran lived in their house in Durban. And she has been in heart failure for
3 years.
Is it 3 years?
Feels like it.
It might be 5. I think it's like 5
4.
years. It's been a long time she's been unwell. And so she lives in Durban and she's got like full-time care. And I'm like, why must I phone my gran? Like, what are you talking about, right? And my dad's like, oh, okay, so you don't remember anything. And I'm like, no. How does Granny fit into this picture? He says, well, last night you phoned Granny in a complete state. You were screaming and you were crying and we didn't know where you were and we didn't know what had happened to you. I don't know what even happened. And you phoned your granny in this state and she got a real fright. And now my gran's heart condition, like it's really like it's not great.
It's sad, yeah.
And she was so worried she phoned me. So I got in the car and I started driving around Johannesburg trying to find you at 3 o'clock this morning.
He did.
And he said that when he did find me, apparently he tricked me into telling him where I was. So he was on the phone with me because now my granny was like, she was on the phone with me on her phone and on her carer's phone. She was speaking to my dad, trying to figure out like how she could help, but by being in Durban and like unable to. So apparently my dad got on the phone with me and he was asking me where I was and I wouldn't tell him because I was so embarrassed about the state I was in, I imagine. I think that's my reasoning. I don't know. And he eventually got me to a point where he was like, oh, so what did you do tonight? And he started, I started walking him through my evening, and eventually came out that I was at Babylon. And he said that he watched someone carry me to the car, I think it was. I can't remember how the story went. And apparently I got in the car and I just started crying and begging for help. But my dad couldn't do anything because his sponsor had said to him, like, you need to wait until she's clean and sober, and for her to ask for help in a sober state of mind. And I can't imagine what, like, courage that took, and, like, patience. And he must have been petrified, because I mean, that went on for a couple of months. Like, then it was my 21st birthday.
Oh, she dressed up as She-Go.
I did. I looked great.
You did.
But that night also ended really badly. And I remember, like, my dad had obviously, like, done that driving around Johannesburg at 3 o'clock in the morning, and then on this particular evening, on my 21st, he was dropping me off at the club, Babylon again, because we'd finished the actual party, which he'd put together so beautifully for me. And I turned to him and I chucked my phone in the car and I said, my phone's dead. And I looked at him and there was this look of terror, like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do?
I also want to say, like, I think like you touched on it, I think that's really important. Like, there's been so many times when I was actively high, actively using like saying, I want help, I'm never going to do this again, I'm never going to do this again. And then waking up, and then the help gets offered to me. Someone sits down with me and like, okay, you want help?
Yeah.
Getting frustrated, doing it again, and it's like the cycle. I think it's very, very smart and brave for someone to take a step back and go, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to be present. You need to, when you are of sober mind and you want this help, you are able to come to me.
Yeah.
I think that's such a clever way to approach it. And sometimes, yes, it doesn't get to that point. But as long as the lines of communication are open in that kind of way, I think that's really beautiful. And I think a lot of people can learn from that.
Yeah. I'm really grateful that my dad did give me that space, because I needed to get to that point also where it wasn't a thing of like, you will go to rehab or you will get help.
Because then you're going to have more resentment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like,
that was my parents' problem. Which, I mean, well done, but still.
I mean, yeah, right. But yeah, it was, I was really glad that he waited, because it did take me to my knees, and I needed to be brought to my knees. And I remember that night specifically as well, where I was like, okay, enough.
Yeah.
It was a weeknight, and I was going out with some friends who are still very good friends of mine to this day, and I'm very grateful for them because they helped me realize that it was enough. The most non-judgmental people.
That's amazing.
Ever. Just amazing. And I also grew up with them, which is quite cool. So we were going out. It was an event that I'd like rallied everyone to go to. And it was, like I said, a weeknight, and I remember going to my friend's house to get ready, and I was already drinking, and I was like, why don't you want to drink? And she was like, well, I've got school tomorrow. She was studying. And I was like, okay. And we get to the party and or the event, and I'm drinking and I'm drinking and I'm drinking and I'm drinking and I'm still drinking and I'm still drinking, and none of my friends, like, they'll have a drink
and stop.
Yeah. And I'm like, why? And they're all like, well, I have school, or I have a job, or I have like responsibilities to take care of, you know? And there I was, once the event had closed and the lights were on, I was running around trying to see who had a bong.
Yeah.
Trying to get my last hit, like, and asking, well, who's going to go to the next party with me? Meanwhile, it's a weeknight. Like, where are we going to go? And I got into the Uber on my way home, and I'll never forget the smell of, like, stale McDonald's in the back of that Uber. And it was spinning, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, everyone else has these lives that they're living. And here I am just wasting away. Like, I hate my life. I hate me. I hate waking up and not wanting to be here anymore. Like, it's a horrid feeling. And I've always been so blessed with the most incredible friends. I have a beautiful family. I've never been alone, but I felt so lonely.
Yeah.
And so isolated. And like, I hated who I'd become. And in that moment, I remember the thought, it hit me, and it sobered me up so quick. I was like, I cannot do this anymore. I went to bed, and the next morning I went to my dad and I asked for help, and we both just stood in the kitchen of our house and we just started crying. And then that evening, he was leaving, and I popped my head out the door, and I was like, hey, you going to a meeting? And he was like, yeah. I was like, can I come? He just started crying.
That's beautiful. Oh my God.
It was a really cool moment. Very special, because I think for my dad it felt like finally it had paid off. You
Yeah.
know, like his waiting, and
it's also beautiful that you got to see, you started off with that resentment, seeing him come home happy.
yeah.
But the way he was able to handle
Yo.
what was going on around you, did it give you that sense of freedom to be like, I feel like I can go to him
Yeah.
now. Isn't that beautiful?
So beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Something else I want to say is, like, my dad, with everything that went on, even when I was a kid, he's always been my hero. He really has. Like, I remember being a kid and they'd say we had to do this project, we'd have to draw our hero. And I always drew my dad.
I'm gonna cry.
And it's crazy that, like, he's literally led me and guided me to a life worth living.
So beautiful.
It's really cool.
So
and I'm
beautiful.
so grateful that I've got, like, that I have this and I have that relationship. If it wasn't for him, I don't know if I'd be here. I'd probably be dead in a ditch.
No, I think that's really important to discuss. I can't wait to get to, like, your recovery and the first meeting and all of that. But before we get there, I think it's really important to note, like, addiction, it's not about what the substance is. It's not about how long an addiction was or anything like that. It's the pain.
Yeah.
It's the internal pain, the pain it's causing other people. And the pain, Uma, it was such a concern what was going on with you. It was terrifying. I met Uma while you were inactive at a tattoo event.
Yes.
At a tattoo event. I'll never forget the first time I met you. And I could see you were struggling. I could see. It's like it was in your face. It was in your face. You were anxious. You were nervous. I think you were also a little bit paranoid from the weed specifically. I think you struggled with that. Yeah. And I could see it in your face, but we really, like, I just saw, I could see the struggle and I related to the struggle. And like, seeing the difference between that woman, that person, and who you are now is so beautiful. And it's not to say that that person was sad and unworthy. That person just wanted help, and you were too scared to ask for it then, but you were still, it's to know you came out the other side of such a lot of dangerous situations, a lot of mental health crises, a lot of psychosis experiences, to be able to say to someone, I need help, and then going to your first meeting with your father who you watch struggle, that is a beautiful full, like, when people speak of breaking generational stuff, like, that's the image I get.
So cool.
That's the image. Like, there's so much power in that. Well, tell us about your first meeting.
Okay, so
So 12-step meeting, right?
12-step meeting, Narcotics Anonymous in Johannesburg. I shat myself.
You must have been terrified.
I was so scared. Because now, first of all, I mean, I always thought that I was, like, this outgoing, like, crazy girl, but really I was so scared of the world.
That little girl you spoke about.
So scared of everything. And I was hella paranoid. Like, hella paranoid. I firmly believed, this is so ridiculous. Now, I'm like, my goodness, Oma. I firmly believed that there was a guy watching me who was falling in love with me 24/7, and I had to put on this whole show for this, like, love of my life. First of all, hella creepy.
Yeah, very weird fantasy to have.
Really weird.
Like Truman Show levels, but, like, with a love element.
So weird. And I that is not my fantasy now. Just... Anyways,
Voyeurism.
hella paranoid. Also, I was convinced that people were always trying to kill me. But
I just want to touch on that as well, and I really feel it's important I say this. I'm sorry, I'll be quiet from here on out.
No, man.
I know one of your drugs of choice was weed, right? Yeah. And I think there's this big misconception, and I need to say that I've made so many videos about it.
Yeah.
There's two ways, like, people look at weed as plant medicine. For some people, that is something that works.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. For some people with pre-existing mental health conditions, or this kind of trauma that you've experienced throughout your life, or just chemicals, whatever it is, it can cause severe paranoia and severe psychosis and a breakdown and addiction. That's it. End of the day. Some people, it really helps. It really fucking helps. I've seen it with people in my life. It helps.
Yeah.
With me, drove me insane.
Yeah.
with you, and I need to be very clear, what I saw was that psychosis in you.
100%.
And it's in the eyes.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to come out of.
Yeah.
Very, very, very difficult to come out of. So a lot of people can downplay that kind of stuff. It's one of the most harmful things for someone who struggles. It
Yeah.
really is. With mental health conditions, that psychosis is awful. It should never, ever be downplayed. And if someone needs help for that, they need to ask for that help. Doesn't matter what society thinks of it. Yes, there's medicinal use for it. If it works for someone, that's amazing. We celebrate that. If it does not, and if someone needs help, they are just as valid to come in and ask for help.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there's this thing around that. I think it's shifted now, but people like would feel shame.
Yeah.
Saying that's one of the things I struggled with. You struggled with a lot of things. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's really important we lift the veil on that.
Yes.
Here and now.
100%.
Yeah.
I think it definitely is something that's not spoken about enough, because it is like so widely accepted. It's like alcohol. It's like
it's the exact same thing.
It's the same kind of
Yeah.
thing where it's now been legalized and whatever. I don't know the full story behind it, but it's a serious problem. And I've seen people. I was in a facility with people who smoked weed once and they never came back.
Yeah, I've
They
seen that
never
too.
came back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so scary. And for me, it was just like everything else. It was an escape. And I used it and I abused it to a point where it was ridiculous. I mean, I have family members who smoke a joint every night because it helps them sleep.
Same.
Great. Like,
Yeah.
happy for you. I cannot do that. I've got to
Exactly.
smoke enough weed to the point where I'm paralytic, like
Yeah.
where I can't move and I can't. And for me, that's again, like, it's such a distinct difference between being a muggle and an addict. It's like, I don't know how to use anything in a way that is manageable.
Helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, pain meds.
Yeah.
You know, I cannot use them
Yeah.
because I don't know how to do it in a way that it
Mhm.
actually helps me. I have to use it to make myself forget about everything.
I think the best way to even identify what the issue is if it is harming you or other people around you, your life in any way, financially, mentally, psychologically, anything, it's a problem.
Yeah.
If it's working for you
Yeah.
and it's not doing any of that, cool.
Great. So I'm
Yeah.
so happy for you. I'm
Yeah.
a little bit jealous.
Just a lot jealous, actually. Me, a lot jealous. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out there
Yeah.
because I feel like that's a very important conversation. It's
Yes.
cool to have someone like you come on and discuss it. So
Yes.
first meeting.
Okay, so first meeting. So I'm shitting myself. I'm very nervous, and I'm obviously with my dad, and he's such a cutie pie, guys. He's such a cutie pie. He's so sweet.
First episode of Alex having coffee with her dad.
Yeah. So if you want to see what my dad's like, go watch that episode.
Yeah.
He's a cutie pie. So he's obviously very like excited and proud, and like we go to this meeting, and I remember I was wearing I love a dungaree.
As you can tell.
I was wearing short dungarees and it was quite cold out. And my dad was like, you probably shouldn't be wearing that to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, don't be ridiculous. But obviously, he was just being protective.
Yeah.
So anyways, I
can.
had I'm not. But I had this like jersey over me and I'm shivering because it's actually really cold. But I'm also just really, really, really scared. And I remember we sitting on this little bench and it's outdoors and I'm like super uncomfortable and super aware of my skin and like, you know, when you're like hyper aware of every movement you make. So I felt like that, and I'm sitting next to these people and everyone wants to hug everyone. And
Oof.
I'm like, why? Like, these are strangers. This is so weird. Everyone's being super nice to me and I'm like, guys, I don't want what you're buying. This is ridiculous. No one can be this happy. I mean, come on. Anyway, so we're sitting in this circle and everyone goes around the room and introduces themselves. Hi, my name's so-and-so and I'm an addict. Hi, my name's so-and-so and I'm an addict. And it gets to me and I panic and I go, hi, my name's so-and-so and I'm an addict. And I don't know what came over me, but I just burst out crying. And it was these tears came from a place of relief, not pain. It came from a place of like,
Surrender.
like that surrender, but also like that felt good. Like, I felt like that was the first honest thing I'd said in so long. And it felt like, oh, okay, that actually sits well with me. And it just felt like this relief of like, oh, okay. You know, like I can say that. And this lady was sharing, and apparently she hadn't my dad hadn't seen her in quite a while, and it was a little bit of a miracle that she was sharing, and I was listening like super intently. And it felt like she shared my exact story. It felt like she was talking directly to me. And I think that is the power of one addict sharing their story, is because you never know whose life you're going to touch. You never know who's going to like hear something and go, oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one. And yeah, it felt like, okay, this actually, a lot of what's been going on inside my head and my heart makes sense now. So that happened, and I actually spoke to her after the meeting, and I met all these people. Like I can't even remember who was there. It was such a blur. And we got in the car, and I said to my dad, I don't think that I can do this while being out in the world. Like I don't know if I can go home and not smoke weed or have a drink. Or so he said, okay, no problem. We were struggling financially at that point because my dad had he was only a couple months out of rehab. So finances were tight, but he was like, I will make it work, no problem. And he sent me to the same facility that he went to, and that's where it all kind of started. And I'm really, really, really grateful. I know not everyone has the opportunity to go to a facility. I'm really grateful that I did, because I feel like for me, I needed to be removed from society. Because I mean, even that evening after the first meeting, Dad was like, hey, we're going to take everything out the cupboard and pour it down the sink. And the booze were fine until he said, where's your bag? And I was like, He said to me it was a bag of weed. And he was like, let's put it in the fireplace. And I was like, yes. Let's do that.
That's so funny, bro.
He didn't really understand, I don't think, the level at which that was like. And then he was like, oh no, I think we should put it in the toilet. I was like, I think let's put it in the
Burn
fire.
it.
Let's burn it. Let's close all the windows. So I mean, even like then, and I was angry at him, eh? Like we just gone to an NA meeting, and like I've told him I want to be clean, but I was so angry.
Well, now you have to take action.
Now I had to do something about it. So yeah, so I went to the facility, and I was there for 4.5 months.
Yeah?
I went there specifically though because they also deal with eating disorders. So I went there to deal with not just the addiction to substances, but also the eating disorder stuff, because I was starting to get very sick.
And I think that's important when we put the substances down. A lot of primary issues come to the surface. For me, it was a very similar experience to you.
Yeah.
As soon as I went into my last rehab, as soon as I went in, I knew there were no substances there, and I completely leaned on my eating disorder to get me through, like it was a substance, like it was my little secret, and no one else could take that from me. If you're going to take that from me, at least I have this, and this is what I'm in control of.
Yes.
And that happens to a lot of people, and a lot of people don't discuss it. And I think it's really good to be in a facility where that is discussed.
Yes.
And I think that's why you were there for 4.5 months, if I'm correct.
Yes. Mostly, kind of. Well, so, yeah. So what happened was exactly what you spoke about. So I put down the substances, and I was really happy to work on that side of things. There was a conversation that went a little bit like this with my counselor, where I said, I think I can still smoke weed. And she said, why do you think that? And I said, well, because I mean, it's a normal, it's like natural, it's my blah, 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 so on and so forth. And she said, you're an addict. You have a problem. So I did still think I could use substances. I don't believe that now, obviously. But I was happy to deal with the substances and the drinking and all that. But when it came to the eating disorder, it was kind of like, but this is what I have left. This is all I have left. Don't take this from me. But it was really killing me. I was very underweight. I was medically speaking, like it wasn't looking great. And I started doing my steps, and it was coming towards the end of my 3 months, which was like the basics day. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I've got to finish my step work and get out of here. And what actually spiraled everything was one day, one of my friends said to me, how's it going with the ED stuff? And I shut it up. Yeah, sorry, eating disorder stuff. And I shut it down super quickly, and I was like, it's fine. And she went,
Oh, that look. Can't bullshit a bullshitter in rehab, guys.
Exactly. And then we had this group called Board Sayings, where like every week you get a saying that the counselors would write for you, and you'd have to reflect on it over the week. And my board saying was, I cannot afford to rush this process. And I was like, I'll put my hand up and I'll discuss my board saying, because I was a teacher's pet.
Oh, were you?
Ooh,
Were you?
yeah.
Oh, girl.
Always have been, always will be. Well, not always will be, but I was a massive teacher's pet. So I always did everything by the book. And I was doing my step work with the pretty colors and the like the ruler and the whole situation. And I got to a point where I was now rushing my step work to try and get it finished. And I put my hand up in this group and I was like, I understand what you guys are trying to say, but like, I've got to get out of here and I have a plan and this is what I'm going to do and blah, 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 blah. And I gave them this whole long spiel about how I was ready. And suddenly a hand went up and it was this friend who'd shut me down about the eating disorder stuff. Who I'd shut down about the eating disorder stuff. And she said, I'm really worried about you. And I remember like rolling my eyes and being like, oh, please, you know. And suddenly everyone in the house put their hands up and they started saying they were really worried about me and how I was not taking things seriously and the eating disorder stuff was coming up and whatever. And I was backing myself up and I was like, no, like defending myself and no, you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm ready, but like I'm doing so well. And then one of the counselors turned to me and I'm forever grateful for this moment. She turned to me and she said, you are petrified of letting go of control. And something in me in that moment just snapped. And I felt like this belief system, this wall, this like idea I had about the world, it just cracked. And I could not stop crying. And I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. And it felt like for the first time, someone had seen me, but like properly seen through me. And I was actually just petrified. I was still that petrified little girl that I was when I was 6 years old. Just so afraid of the world and so afraid of everything and anything. And when she said, like, you're just petrified of letting go of control, was like, oh, okay. And then I think that's where it actually started for me. Because it was like, okay, now I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I think also that the thing that really helped me was that even though they'd cracked that part of me and they'd seen through it and they'd gone, okay, you are just this scared little girl, I still felt loved and I still felt supported and I still knew that I was okay.
You were safe.
I was safe.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I will forever owe my life to that center, because I never felt like it wasn't okay to be me. And in those moments of being completely bare and completely vulnerable, I mean, there was one group that was literally, it was about breaking you down. And I was so proud of myself because they couldn't even break me down. And I kind of like held myself to that standard.
Well, you feel like you can manipulate the system.
Oh, of course. But even when they did break me down and when they did...
Is it done with kindness?
It's done with so much kindness and so much love. And also like you're held through the process. So it's like, we know you're broken. We're broken too. Like, we get it. Come, it's okay. We're going to do this together.
Like shadow work.
100%. Yeah. And I think for me, that was a real turning point. And then that's when I actually started to be like, you know what, I want this. Like, I want to live this life. And then the most beautiful thing that happened to me in that facility, they speak about at the end of the 12 steps. The 12 steps is the written work that we do in the program. And in this facility, it's a 12-step facility. So they work from the 12 steps and you do step work, and it's suggested that you finish your first round of steps in treatment. So I finished my first round of steps and I was feeling really, really, really good. I'd finally got some kind of confidence in myself. Like, I was starting to identify. I even had a moment where I looked in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, that's my body. And I didn't feel shame. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't hate it. Like, I was like, oh, that's just me, you know? And that was such a like big moment. But I remember I'm sitting there and I've finished my 12 steps and now like you get like a leadership position, right? And
we
I
had
was
that as well.
yeah. And I was kind of like babysitting the step workers, right? So I was watching them do their step work and I was reading my big book. And I remember very, 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 like it was yesterday, I remember this little breeze like against my face. And suddenly my body broke out in these like, what's it called? Goosebumps. And I was like, that feels like nothing I've ever felt before in my entire life. And then I listened and I could hear like guys doing construction somewhere in the distance and birds chirping, and it sounded like the most beautiful music I'd ever heard in my entire life. And I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. What is that sound? But it was just birds and construction people. And I look up from my book, and there's this little patch of green grass just in front of me. And I remember thinking, like, holy shit, that is green. Like, that is the greenest green I have ever seen in my entire life. And it was this beautiful moment of, like, realizing that I'd been living in such a black, white, and grey reality that I'd forgotten what it felt like to be alive. And I suppose that's a spiritual awakening they kind of speak about. That's how it happened for me. It was just like, I really want to live. I want to live. I want to be present in my life. I want to be an active participant in my life. I want to feel the breeze on my skin. I want to see the color in the trees. I want to and to go from hating that I'd woken up in the morning to actually wanting to be a part of life. Game changer. Absolute game changer. And that's a moment that I hold on to when it gets hard.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Being present, being there, and
Yeah.
actually no longer, I think for a long time I was just existing. And a lot of people say that, but I really was. I was just existing. And it's so cool you can identify the moment when you're like, wait, I'm living. I'm actually living. When did you leave the facility? How many years ago?
I think it was just, oh wait, hold on, let me figure it out. September, October, November, December. So it was probably 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
3 years.
No? Yes.
3.
Yes.
3
years ago.
3
Yeah.
years.
So I was in the facility for 4.5 months, and I've been clean for 3 years and 4 months.
That is incredible. Just taking us through that whole journey. What was it like coming back into society? Because you said the words you used was you needed to kind of remove yourself. I mean, there's fear. Like, going into treatment is great. Like, the substances are away. There's a privilege in it. There's being able to speak to all these people who trust you. And then all of a sudden you're in the world, and that's like the real work, and the tools you've learned come in. Because, like you mentioned, I don't mean to bring it back, and I know it's a hard subject. The trauma as a kid with the grooming, the trauma just growing up the way you did, all the stuff you work through in rehab, but when you go into the real world, you need to have tools. You need to have a way to actively work on your recovery when you leave the space. Do you want to take us through that process, what you learned, what you took with you, and what helped you over these 3 years?
Yes. I love this subject. So I think what's super important, and something that they warn you about, but you don't really understand until you really experience it, is that you can get clean, but it doesn't fix all the problems. Like, life still lives. I mean, there have been moments in recovery where I've literally lost everything materialistically. Like, I lost my place where I was staying. I had enough money to Uber to a family member. I didn't have a job. Like, and even in those moments, like, life will life.
Yes.
You know, my granny's really not well. We have fights as family members. I got out of a long-term relationship. This stuff happens, you know, but I think, like you said, it's about having the tools to deal with life now. So I don't feel like at any point I need to pick up to cope with anything, because I've been given the tools. And honestly, I know this sounds like super, not militant, but like,
It's okay if it works for you.
yeah. I believe in the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are step work, meetings, sponsorship, service, and God. And as someone who was raised very anti-religion, the God one really did, it took me a while to get on board with. But I really believe, like, now I cannot do life. Like, I can't do life without a power greater than myself. I just can't. And I do the step work so I can be a better person, so I can gain the actual tools logically, or like on paper, to deal with whatever comes my way. I have a sponsor because I need someone to hold me accountable, and I need someone that I can speak to about anything and everything. Like, my sponsor knows the deepest, darkest, most ugly things about me. And there's something so powerful in knowing that someone can see the absolute worst of me and go, I love you anyways. I love you because of,
Yeah.
you know, um, I'm of service because I can't be where I am. I would never have gotten to where I am if someone hadn't have been of service to me. And also because it reminds me that there's much more important things in life. Like helping another addict is way more important than making sure that I get that pair of shoes,
Yeah.
you know? So it keeps me in that space. And going to meetings is really important because it's very easy for me to isolate and fall back into my own head, and my own head will tell me lies. It'll tell me that I'm horrible. It'll tell me that I'm ugly, that I'm not worth it, that I need to starve myself, that I should pick up a drug because it'll make me feel better. That's what my head does because I have this disease. But when I go and I spend an hour with a bunch of other people who have the same disease, we can laugh about it together and go, oh my God, our heads are so silly. Like, and that's the importance of that. It also reminds me why I want to live and how important connection is. You know,
And I want to touch because you said this, and I have to bring it back to it. You said something beautiful. When you were in active addiction, you had friends, you had family around you,
yeah,
but that was the loneliest you had ever felt.
yeah,
And I think something about recovery, no matter where you find it, for you in the meetings, 12-step programs, I'm going to cry. I think when you're living that kind of recovery, you connect with yourself because of the step work. And for you, finding the higher power, however you understand your higher power, you're just not God. You know,
exactly.
You're just not God in the
Exactly.
situation. However you want to look at it, I know people struggle with it. I struggle with it. Uma's found something like that. That's beautiful. There's connection. There's connection to a lot of things. And now, do you feel sometimes you could be alone? And I'm not saying every time because, like you said, lives. Sometimes when you're going through the most, do you sit alone in your room and actually feel like you have connection instead of back then surrounded by people and feeling isolated?
Yes. Girl, but this has been a very recent thing for me because I did the thing where I got into a relationship very early on in recovery, so I didn't give myself enough space and time to actually get to know me, which all happened for a reason, and I'm grateful that it did happen.
I did the same thing, girl.
Yeah, it's
Same thing.
and I almost feel like I don't want to say, don't do it. It's like
It's different for everyone.
it's different for everyone. And it needed to happen for me because I needed to get to another kind of desperation, which was the desperation of not being able to be on my own or be in my own company. And so this last period, I got a new sponsor a couple months ago, and she's taken me back to step work, back to meetings, back to all these little things that really do make me feel better. And I don't know what has shifted in my perspective, but I'm able to be in my own company and feel fulfilled, feel like I'm not on my own, to enjoy my own company, to actually enjoy that silence and that peace and be content. And that's a 100, it's a complete 180. But I feel like I had to do a little bit of like a 40 degree, then a 90 degree, then a like, and now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, this is actually really cool. And I don't feel like I don't need someone else to complete me. I don't need other people to make me feel whole. But I need people to remind me why connection's important.
Yeah.
And the importance of friendship and the importance of having people to lean on. Like I mean, I've spoken to you about the most deepest, darkest parts of myself. And I'm able to share that with you and release the guilt, release the shame, and be like, also then build on our friendship.
And that's the thing. People can lean on you too.
Exactly.
And you know your limits.
Yeah.
And you have your boundaries. We both like that. Like friendship is that. Like finding that real connection. Let me tell you something. In 2023, Uma was there when I was in psychosis. Okay, I was in complete psychosis. It was an insane time, and you were there without judgment. And like that is real. And then when you're going through something, I will be fucking there. And it's everyone in your life. It's everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've created connection, you've created community for yourself, and you give that to other people too. I'm sorry that I took us away from the tools you were describing, because you spoke about higher power, that you identify as God.
Yes.
Meetings, going to meetings is important for you. Sponsor is important to you. Doing acts of service, so giving back to the still suffering addict or addicts, just any anyone in general, not
I
even
was gonna
addicts.
say, not
Yeah.
even just in the recovery field, but it's
Yeah.
as simple as being there for my loved ones. So
Mhm.
like, I used to be so stuck in myself and so selfish and so like obsessed with, oh shame, poor me, my life's so hard, that I wasn't able to be present with my
Mm.
loved ones. I mean, my grandfather passed away in 2018, and while I was like physically there, I was so like, oh shame, poor me, and I was so high and so drunk all the time that I wasn't able to be there with my family and love them through that, and be supportive. And now
Mhm.
my grand's passing away, or
She's not well. Yeah.
she's not well, she's on her way out, and I'm able to be there with my family, to be present, to actually be of service, and for me that's so, it's priceless. It's like, we all have our stuff,
Mm.
you know even with friends, we've all got our things, but it's incredible that in recovery we're given the opportunity to build friendships and to build connections with loved ones from a place of understanding, not judgment.
Yeah. And knowing what works for you and what doesn't,
Yeah.
and being able to put down a boundary and
Yeah.
things like that. I just think it's so beautiful you brought up the difference between losing your grandfather, who I know how much you love him, and what you're currently going through with your gran. Someone said to me when I was inactive, I lost my cousin, and I 100% used her death as an excuse to do more drugs,
Yeah.
to traumatize more people, and to
100%.
traumatize myself. It was the greatest excuse in the world.
100%.
Then I lost my father in recovery, who was my best friend. And when people say to me, "What's the greatest gift of your recovery?" I think the greatest gift of my recovery is being able to be there for my loved ones. Fuck the material shit that comes in time, and it gets lost and it goes and it comes. But being able to be there for people and be present, and being able to show up as a daughter, as a friend, as a child is priceless. Is
So
just
special.
beautiful and unmatched. And someone said to me once, I said I use my cousin's death as an excuse to traumatize myself and my family even further. And they said, how does it feel knowing that you showed up for your father at the time where you could have used what was happening to him as an excuse to traumatize? And it was such an eye-opening experience, and I hope you feel that, and I hope your grandfather's proud of you, and your whole family is proud of you, and I'm proud of you. What is the fifth pillar?
I said, wait.
Meetings,
So meeting, sponsor, service, God, step work.
Step work. Okay, we did all of them. So
Yes.
those are the tools you found. Like,
Yes.
so if we remove it from a 12-step situation, I would say doing a lot of internal work would be the step work. Finding something greater than yourself. For me, that's human connection.
Yeah. 100%.
And acts of service, which I think is
in
just
general,
in general the most beautiful thing in the world to do. Finding a safe person to speak to who can guide you through, and
also
human
non-judgmental.
Non-judgmental.
That it's a non-judgmental.
It's hard to find that,
Yeah.
and it's hard to find that.
Yeah.
Just finding a space that works for you, where you feel that human connection. And I think that it's amazing that those tools have helped you through what you described and all the pain that you did experience and how you came out, and the accountability and responsibility that you take as a woman is incredible. And it's something I admire, truly.
Stop.
I truly admire it, and I think a lot of people watching will admire it. Your recovery for me is one that is magic. You know when someone sits in a room and you're kind of drawn to them and you're like, what has that person got? It's like, that's how I feel with you. There's just something magical about you, and it's so genuine. It's so fucking genuine. Like, I can see everything you say, you believe and you feel, and you can speak about the things you struggle with in recovery with such description and such internal understanding of who you are. And it's very empowering for me as a woman. I came into the space, I came into a recovery space and stayed sober at the age of 27, right? And there weren't many people or women in, or femme presenting people in the room back then. And I feel like it's women like you who stay in the rooms and who keep coming back to a 12-step space that make it feel safer, that make it feel welcoming, and make it feel like you can do it. And you're that person, and I hope you know that. So your message is powerful, and your recovery is powerful. And I just want to thank you for being in my life as a person. You know, I fucking love you.
I fucking love
So
you.
she called the ambulance for me when I was in psychosis.
I just want to say you've said a lot of really nice things about me. So I want you to know that you have been a massive, massive, massive part of my recovery, and I really don't know what I would have done without you in so many instances. You have dressed up and you have shown up for me on a continuous basis, without judgment, with nothing but love. You are one of the most incredible people I've ever come across in my entire life. Really, really. And I'm incredibly grateful for what you do, not just for me, but for the recovery space in general. You are such an emblem of like empowerment for young women. And I cannot tell you, guys, when we go out in public, the amount of young women that come up to Tony and are like, you helped me so much. You really have. And you know how grateful I am.
Thank you. You know, I don't have kids, right? I have 2 cats, and there's people that I meet in my life, like Dalen over there, Dalen behind the camera, his partner Aaron, Uma, just people that come into my life that I just see such. Even my friends like Oratile, everyone that's in my life, I really care about, and it doesn't matter where you come from, if you're an addict, if you're not an addict, whatever it is you're struggling with, mental health, anything. To know that you are so worthy, you are so fucking worthy, and to know that, like, maybe I don't know what you just said was really nice, but I want you to know that you have the same fucking thing, okay? And I love you all, everyone watching. I love you all. This is like, there's genuine human connection when you find recovery. There's a difference between sobriety and recovery. There's a difference between just abstaining and like really struggling. That can exist. What I get from you is recovery.
Thanks,
And I'm so glad that you get to be in my life and get to share that with me, and to everyone watching. I know something you said, there's something you said has resonated with someone, and I hope they can see that they are worth recovery, you know, and I hope you know you are worth recovery.
Thank you, Marty. I'm really, really, really grateful.
I don't know how to end this podcast. Dalen, help me. You have a microphone. Oh no,
I think
yes. Wait, he's gonna say something.
Remember, we do recover.
Woo!
Oh yes.
Dude, nailed it.
Oh,
I love you so much. I'm sorry, I lost my words there.
no. No, that was beautiful.
I need a cigarette. I think every episode ends with me going, I need a cigarette.